3 and a very smoggy day, so not a lot of sun about, a lot of... Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Oh, there we go. And this cafe overlooks the Saigon railway yards here, and just over my shoulder a little bit along the way is the Saigon railway station. So this place is pretty cool. Come here to check it out. It's huge. If you're into... Sorry, hang on. If you're into coffee shops and trains and stuff like that, it's a good place. This is the first time I've actually been to this place. And there it is there. So some of the trains in there getting a wash, and there's also sort of an engineering workshop down there as well somewhere. But yeah, that's the city today. Check that out, hey? Not very good. Around about there, through the smog somewhere, is Landmark 81. And that's the tallest building, I think it's the tallest building in Vietnam, and you can't even see it. It's about 500 metres or something up into the sky, but today you can't see it. And we're only about, I don't know, 5 kilometres away from it. I don't know, it's there somewhere. But yeah, this is a bit of a cafe with a difference. And that's about the extent of Vietnam's railway system at the moment, although, as you probably know, Saigon's got itself a new metro, so I'm yet to try that out. I might do that during the week. I've been sick. I was sick last week for most of the week. I came down with something, and today's really my first day out. But here we go. I'll give you a look at the cafe here. It's absolutely massive. Look at it. There's Mel. Where are you, Mel? Can I zoom in? She's there somewhere. There she is. Oops, sorry about that. I'm mucking around with the zoom. But yeah, huge place, and I think it's open all day, so you can come for coffee. They have places to eat. You know, this is just a tiny part of it. And then over here, I believe, across the railway line, that sort of domed building there, I think it's some... Well, on Google Maps it says locomotive, I don't know, restoration place. So I think it's... I don't know if it still is, but I think it used to be at least the place where they repaired all the trains inside. So I don't know what era that is. It's definitely be pre-war, I guess. And it's still standing, and then just beyond that, sort of in front of that building there, so in between the big one, the dome one in the foreground, and this building here, is the canal. So Hoang Sa, if you're familiar with Saigon, Hoang Sa and Chung Sa. And then back into towards the Saigon railway station. So there you have it. Not a bad little spot, but as I said, the weather today is super smoggy, which is quite typical for this time of year. Leading up to Tet, all of the industries are firing up for Tet to get stuff done before the holiday season. So, which is, I think, the 29th. So I don't know what today is. So we've got about another week or so to go until Tet. I'm not doing anything this year for Tet. Usually I don't go anywhere anyway, because of just so many tourists. All the locals will go back to their hometown and stuff like that. So it's not worth really being in the airports and on public transport and stuff like that. So I prefer to stay home. Oh, here we go. There might be a train. Hey, could be the highlight of our day. If you've just joined me, I'm at a coffee shop in District 3. It's a rooftop coffee shop, and it's kind of part of the, what do you call it? The railway yards. And you have to enter through a sort of a special location. You can't enter through the gates there because this is government land. It's part of the railways property. And just there is that little spot there, obviously, is where they work on carriages. And this sort of contraption here is where they wash the trains. I saw some trains getting washed before. But yeah, just before, a few minutes ago, I was explaining to people that today's very smoggy in Saigon. It's only about 12:30, and I don't know if you can see it with my camera, and I can barely see it too, but Vietnam's biggest, tallest building, Landmark 81, is just there. I can just make the outline. That's how bad the smog is today. Which, yeah, it kind of sucks a bit. It's not too pretty at all. It's probably not ideal for doing a live video and showcasing the beauty, the so-called beauty of Saigon. But as I mentioned before, it's the lead up to Tet, so it's quite typical for the weather to be a bit crappy like this. I've got a few comments here. Hey, Annie. Wow, all the trash. Yeah, well, it's a railway yard mostly down here, so I think that's fairly common in a lot of places around the world. It's not Germany. I get that. I get that. But let me just, it is a workplace, so, it's not really designed as a tourist destination. And being a rail yard, I guess lots of engineering takes place. Sorry if I'm moving the camera around a little bit and it's a bit hard for you to see. But I've definitely seen worse railway yards on my travels. But this doesn't look too bad. Melanie, the smog, yeah, you can see that, can you? Melanie's here. She's with me downstairs at this cafe. And the smog must be coming up on the screen. Milton. Oh, I want to retire in Vietnam. I'm from the USA. Yeah, well, if you want to, I don't know, Milton, if you've been to Vietnam or not before, but, I think the best advice is to come and check the place out first. I think one of the key issues for people who'd like to retire in Vietnam is the visa status. So, I don't know if you're married or not, but maybe your best option at the moment is to marry a local, come over here and marry a local, and you'll get eventually get a spousal visa. But yeah, I think Vietnam is definitely coming up as a place to retire because things like healthcare, public transport and things like that are improving all the time. So, and Ho Chi Minh City, for example, is a good base. I don't know whether you'd want to retire here or not, but it's a good base for travel. Personally, I could retire in Vietnam as long as I was by a beach somewhere, or maybe even near Da Lat in the Central Highlands. That would be beautiful. Okay, let me have a look at the next one. I'll just give you a look at the beautiful view while I'm checking. Oh, Annie, what's the drink you ordered? I had a café soda today. I've been a little bit sick, as I mentioned earlier, so I just went for my staple. But they've got a lot of drinks, a lot of fruit drinks, all your regular sort of coffee drinks and stuff like that. So, yeah, check it out. your kids will like it as well, Annie. So it's probably a pretty cool spot to bring, especially your little bloke. You can sit up here, have a coffee, and he can look at the trains, even though there's no trains going by. Milton, Vietnam is beautiful. Is Thailand better to live? Milton, I've never lived in Thailand. I've been to Thailand plenty of times before, and there's a lot of information about Thailand online and retirement, and I believe the retirement visas for Thailand are way more suitable. Vietnam I don't think even has a retirement visa, whereas in Thailand they have retirement visas. I believe Indonesia has them, the Philippines has them. But yeah, the real sticking point for retirement in Vietnam is the visa situation at the moment. That may change. Melanie. Melanie's just answering. Annie. Milton. Estella apartments look beautiful to live in. Yeah, I'm not sure where they are. Are they in District 2? They might be in Tuduk or Tao Dien, I think. It's sort of the major expat residential area in Saigon. So yeah, there's lots, Milton, there's lots of apartments to choose from. I think I was saying in one live video a couple of months ago that, you know, I've been here 15 years now, but my rent is actually now cheaper than what it was 15 years ago, just because of the supply of apartments. So if you're thinking about moving here and you can afford to come out here for a little bit, check the place out, see what the lie of the land is over a period of time, you should be able to find something very reasonable to live in and very modern. As opposed to 15 years ago, it was quite tricky back then. There weren't too many apartment blocks there definitely weren't the amount of apartment blocks there are now of really high standard. So there's a lot of bargains to be had in terms of cost of living in Vietnam at the moment. Daniel, sorry, I haven't got my seeing glasses on. Daniel, what's up? I don't know you, I don't think, but thanks for tuning in. Milton, yeah, no worries for the information. That goes for anyone. If you're after some information about Vietnam and what it's like living in Saigon at least, or traveling around, feel free to ask a question in the comments, or keep an eye out for my videos and ask a question on those videos if you like. Sorry, my voice is going a bit. As I mentioned earlier, I've been sick for most of the week, so it's a bit of a struggle. Milton, $1,000 okay for an apartment? Easy, $1,000 in Saigon. Let alone smaller cities and smaller towns, is plenty. My wife and I actually pay $600 US a month, which for a lot of local people, that's still considered expensive. But for the quality of apartment we've got, even though it's now nearly 15 years old, I think it's a really good bargain still. We live only about 7 kilometres from the centre of the city. It doesn't take too long to get into town. We live in an apartment complex that's secure. Our apartment is 84 square metres. I don't know what that is in feet for you. I can't do the maths. But 84 square metres, and it's 2 bedrooms. The second bedroom's fairly small, but great for guests. And officially 2 bathrooms, but the second bathroom is really just a toilet, sort of inside the front door when you come in. It's sort of a combined shower toilet. It's literally a water closet. You know how over here they'll say WC to refer to a toilet. It's literally a water closet. But it does its job when it's needed, if we have guests or anything like that. So $1,000 a month will get you a lot, and that often, if you're in an apartment complex, that will give you security, parking. You'll probably have to pay things like a management fee on top. But for the complex that we stay in, our management fee per month is, I don't know, it might be 20 or 30 bucks US maximum. And all our bills are quite cheap. Our water is really cheap. Electricity is cheap as well. Drinking water is relatively cheap. You know, we don't drink out of the taps or anything like that. Okay, so Annie, yeah, good location for a movie. Yeah, I think it might be. So if anyone's just joined in the live, I'm standing on a rooftop cafe and it's overlooking the railway yards in District 3. And Annie, who's in the chat, he said good location for a movie. And definitely, Annie, for you, given that you're a filmmaker and you're into crime series, it'd be awesome if you'd be able to get some kind of permission to film around here, because it's very gritty, very sort of noir for your genre of filmmaking. I guess if you do happen to do that, don't forget me. Make sure that you include me in the script, because as you know, I've been wanting to be cast as the white villain in local TV shows and movies, but the phone calls have dried up. Actually, none have even. I haven't got any phone calls. It's very much a case of don't call us, we'll call you. But yeah, it's a good spot for that. Looks like it's seen better days though. Milton's got a lot of questions. How long should I... Melanie said, yeah, make sure you write a part for Matt. Yeah. Milton, how long should I stay for vacation over there to see if Vietnam is a place for me to live? Oh, that's a really good question. That's a good question. Well, clearly you would want to find out which region and which city suits your lifestyle. In general, Vietnam's made up of 3 regions. So you've got the northern part, central part, and southern part. So obviously Ho Chi Minh City's in the southern part of Vietnam. Cities that are coming up that are very popular, I've noticed online, for digital nomads and retirees is Da Nang, which is only about 30 minutes or so from Hoi An. You would have heard of Hoi An, the heritage town. It's very popular. And then up around Hanoi, but they've all got obviously different pros and cons, and weather is a big factor. So for example, Saigon is almost always hot and humid, except for this time of year. It's just smoggy this time of year. The central part, unfortunately, cops a lot of typhoons. A lot of the typhoons during the typhoon season from, I think it's about September, October, they blow in from the Philippines across the East Sea. And so Da Nang typically bears the brunt of those. And then Hanoi typically has 4 seasons, so it gets very chilly up there. So if you're into colder weather and that sort of stuff, that might be an option for you. But how long would you? Well, ideally you'd be here plenty of time, wouldn't you? You'd want a fairly long time to be here to see what suits you. But you could probably decide in a couple of weeks, a few weeks maybe. Getting from one end to the country to the other is very easy these days and quite cheap with airfares and stuff like that. You could even take a train, to some places like closer to Saigon, like Muine and Nha Trang, you can catch the train from Saigon, from the station, which is, you can't actually see it, but it's in that direction of the smog up there. So yeah, so I guess Milton, the main answer to your question is, how long is a piece of string? You might find some places that you like and then find it difficult to decide, and then you might find you want to go back and check them out. So there's a lot of videos on Vietnam these days, and actually I'm in a bit of a quandary in terms of what videos I want to make at the moment, because Vietnam in terms of content is saturated at the moment. So I'm trying to find my own little niche. If anyone's got any ideas for what you'd like to see in videos in 2025 from me, make sure you let me know, because I'm always open to ideas. What else have we got here? Sorry, I'm only using my crappy Samsung phone today, so I'm having a few difficulties holding on to it. Milton, yeah, you've got some good questions. Someone told me if I move to Vietnam, they won't give me my social security check. Okay. I'm assuming, Milton, I'm assuming you're from the States, is that right? So I have no idea. I'm Australian, so I've heard that for Australians who are on a pension, they can receive it while they're overseas, but there are conditions, and I think in terms of payments and stuff like that, yeah, it's not the same as if you were in your country. So I'm not at retirement age yet. I wouldn't mind it, but yeah, I don't really have information about that. Although I am aware that for Australians, it is possible, but there are conditions to it. Where are you from, Milton? Which part of the States? While we're waiting, I'll just share a bit more of this cafe with you. I might come downstairs. I'm just a bit worried about the music. It may... Well, I'm not really worried about the copyright, but just that it might be a bit noisy for you. I don't have a mic on me. Oh, New York City, Milton? Okay. I've never been to New York City, but would love to go. So let's go down a level. So we've just come down from up there. It's like the third level of this cafe, I think. And then a massive space here. Look at this. I imagine that it would get quite busy in the evenings, and there's some kind of sort of, I don't know, it looks like barbecue or something. There's a train in the background. Can't really see the trains from here though, except for the ones that are parked. Some of the Tet flowers coming out. So this time of year, it's typical to see these types of flowers. But check this out. This is on a rooftop, mind you. We're about there's Mal over there. We're about 3 floors up. And I think it's on top of one of the old railways buildings, because down here there's a car park for workers by the looks of it. And they've just fashioned this cafe out of the rooftop. But look at it, it's absolutely huge. I think they're trying to recreate those sort of Dalat vibes. There we go. And the gardens are quite nice. Yeah, it's a really nice place, and the prices of the coffees aren't too bad. little spot here so you can look out into the railway yards if you like. And then there's a bar down there as well. So yeah, it's pretty nice, isn't it? It's not too bad. It's good for a Sunday, little bit of a Sunday jaunt on the motorbike. Didn't take us too long to get here from our place. I'm just walking on some rocks here. I'm a bit worried I might trip over. There you go. There's a kind of a bar here. I don't know when that fires up or if it does, but I'm assuming it does. And this is heading over to sort of the entrance way of the cafe. So it's in a, I don't know what era building it is. I'm guessing it's maybe a French era building. It's got the old tiles and stuff like that. Look at these. These are a hallmark of these old buildings in Vietnam. A lot of the buildings here still have the old tiles from that French era, and you've got to see the staircase. Just got to make sure I don't fall down. But look at this old thing. It's amazing. I'll take you down to the bottom and then walk you back up. Hopefully I don't lose connection. Yes, Milton, generally speaking, I haven't been to the States. I can only go by what I've heard. But look at this. Look at these amazing old staircases here. Sadly, I get the feeling that, someday soon that this building will meet the fate of a lot of these era buildings, these sort of modernist era buildings, and they'll meet a wrecking ball, so to speak. But look at it, hey? Look at this. And it's solid too. I'll just take you up here. That's the kitchen for the cafe. But look at this. Look at that. They don't make them like that anymore. But yeah, Milton, generally speaking, I'd say, yeah, the food is healthier, but I've got to say, I have fallen into the trap in Vietnam where I have put on weight, not just because of aging, but also because things are so convenient. And there's actually, believe it or not, a lot of fried food in Vietnamese cuisine. And as you know, we all love some good fried food. So it's actually quite easy to put on weight. So it requires a bit of discipline. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you come here, you're going to lose weight automatically and be healthier. Oh, I'm a case in point at the moment. And this is a nice little counter here for the cafe. And back out. Milton, yes. Probably get food poisoning, or I get a funny stomach, whether it's from food or not. Probably more from food handling. Probably twice a year, still, after all these years. Typically, I think it's more about the handling of food. It's still very still very hands-on, if you know what I mean. So there are so many places. There are so many places in Saigon, at least, where food hygiene goes down a little bit, and yeah, I typically find myself getting some kind of stomach issue probably twice a year, I reckon. And actually just last week I had it. I don't know how I got it, but I spent most of the week sort of back and forth to the bathroom, unfortunately. Yeah. Annie. Yeah, it's good. I think you'd really like it, Annie. It is a little bit run down, but you know the deal in Saigon. I mean, a lot of these cafes just sort of pop up just as a way of opportunity, I guess. Someone sees an opening and knows the right person, I suppose, and they open these places up. And it's very exposed to the elements, as you can see. So obviously in the rainy season, it would cop a lot of rain. And then obviously when it's sunny, which is most of the time, it cops a lot of sun. But it would be interesting in the rainy season. As you can see up there, they've got these massive pull across, whatever you call them, roofs to stop the rain. Kind of, although the rain often blows in sideways, doesn't it? Who else? Melanie, Annie. She's responding to Annie. Milton. Does Vietnam have good doctors and hospitals? Well, that's a oops. Sorry. That's a good question. I've been very lucky over the years. Generally speaking, I've been quite healthy, and so I haven't had a lot of contact with the health industries here, which is, you know, touch wood, that will continue to happen. But the experiences that I have had have been generally positive, and I think one real main thing that I can comment on is that when you fall sick, say you wake up in the morning and you feel sick and you can't go to work or whatever, and you place a call to your preferred doctor, typically you can get in to see a doctor within a few hours, at the latest maybe in the afternoon. So I hear that in places like Australia sometimes that's not possible, but in my experience, pretty much every time I've needed to see a doctor in Vietnam, I've been able to see them within hours, or at the very latest, you know, in the afternoon after I've made the call. So yeah, and I think it's improving all the time. If I had to have some kind of major surgery, it would just, for me now, would depend on what my insurance company is prepared to cover me for. I mean, if you can afford it, a lot of people will go to Bangkok. Bangkok has world-class medical. So a lot of people go there to get their medical done. So that's an option as well. You're never too far away. If you're wanting to do sort of things like elective surgery, a lot of people will go to Bangkok. Okay, next one. Annie, he's responding to Mel. Okay. Okay, Annie's made a good comment. That's true, Matt. In Germany, I have to wait for 8 weeks to see my doctor. Sucks. Yeah, that's crazy. 8 weeks. Oh my God, that's unbelievable. Yeah, it doesn't work either way. I mean, if you need a doctor for an emergency or you need a doctor just, I don't know, just to do a blood test or whatever, that must be terrible. So probably a good thing you're here in Vietnam, Annie, at the moment at least. But it's something that I think about a fair bit as I get older, you know, what's going to happen in terms of medical for me and my wife. But and Annie, you'll be able to concur with this, over the past 10 to 15 years, Vietnam's advancement in many things like medical has been quite good. We've seen quite a significant improvement in those areas. So, you know, hopefully for the next 20 years at least, I'll be okay. I don't know if I'll be here in another 20 years, but in the next 10 to 20 years, I expect that we'll see even greater improvement in that space. So I don't think it's going to go backwards. Okay, here we go. Oh, Milton's asking a lot of interesting questions. Do Vietnamese women date foreigners? LOL. Yes, of course they do. They do, yeah. Yep. So, yeah, they do. I don't know what else I can say about that. I mean, this region in general, you know, local women are open to meeting foreigners and getting to know them and stuff like that. So there's a lot of opportunities there for that. My wife, Melanie, she's from the Philippines and we met here. She's over there. There she is over there. So I guess even though she's not Vietnamese, we're proof of what can happen over here. Yeah, thanks, Annie. Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. I'm very happily married. So, sorry, any Vietnamese ladies watching this, I'm off the market. But, yeah, I mean, if you're just a genuinely nice person, you'll be fine. You'll be okay. Yeah. But I think there are plenty of other vlogs and channels on that sort of stuff, Milton, so you can check that out. I don't really do that sort of stuff. I don't do content about that, but feel free to ask questions for sure. Yes, Milton, Asian women are very good women. Yes, they're lovely. Yeah, as are all women. Yeah. Okay, so that's coming up to 30 minutes. I probably better wrap up this live. Thanks for joining me. We're going to go, I think, to another cafe. Might take a few photos, so keep a lookout for those. This other cafe is a vinyl cafe, meaning there's a sort of floor-to-ceiling collection of vinyl records. There's a bit of a retro thing going on with Gen Z and what are they, Alpha at the moment, who are interested in all things retro. So there are cafes popping up that have vinyl record collections and they play records and stuff like that. So we're off to check one of those out now, and I'll take a few photos and put it up in the community tab somewhere. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys, for watching. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Annie. See you in the next one. And Milton, no worries. Milton, feel free to leave more questions in the comments. And then when I do, I'm going to try and do a live again next Sunday as well. I'm going to try and make it a bit of a thing to do. Hopefully my voice will be better then. I'll do a regular live on a Sunday. Okay, until then, catch you later and see you in the next one.